Hi dear friends, we have already seen stage number 3, clarifying goals, and stage number 4, negotiate towards a win-win outcome from stages of negotiation. Now we are going to see uh, next stage, that is agreement, and another one more stage, that is implementing a course of action. Agreement can be achieved once understanding of both sides, viewpoints, and interests have been considered. Before doing an agreement, you must understand the viewpoint of other party as well as your party also. Agreement is generally made between two or more parties. It is actually a legal document. If you do your agreement before the notary or the registrar, sub registrar, then it will be an authentic legal document. But before that, agreement is the statement or the rules and regulations and conditions made by both the parties, and both are agree on the particular rules which is created by both of them. They should be ready. They must be ready, not should. They must be ready to follow all the rules and regulations mentioned in that agreement. So agreement is the legal document that will guide how to behave in the future. There are many types of agreements. Suppose you are owner of the flat and you have to give your flat on rent. Then there is agreement of owner and the buyer, or the, what we can say, the person who is going to live on rent in your flat. There is an agreement, and there are many points mentioned there, how the person will use the flat, and he will do and what he will not do in your flat. So these are the rules and regulations set by both the parties generally to implement effectively in the future. So this is quite essential in business sector basically, because you are, if suppose you are doing business in partnership, then it will be quite essential to make an agreement between both of you. Otherwise, what will be done by whom is the question in the future. It is essential to for everybody involved to keep an open mind in order to achieve an acceptable solution. Any agreement needs to be made perfectly clear so that both sides know what has been decided. After discussion, suppose there is a discussion for 1 hour, more 1 hour, and you will come to the conclusion with some plus points and with some minus points. There are two parties discussing on a particular issue and come to an end or conclusion with some plus points and with some minus points. You have to write down all these plus and minus points and future strategies on a paper, and that should be perfectly clear, because nobody will definitely mm, misbehave in the future due to this agreement. Because agreement, which I have already told you, that it is a legal document and it is signed by both the parties. If you sign on a paper, then you will be agree on the terms and conditions mentioned in the agreement. So before making an agreement, the negotiation must be a fruitful one. Or some, suppose there are some controversial issues, you should find out some remedy for that controversial issue, and you should definitely come to a conclusion or remedial point of view. You can give uh, another stage or step or another viewpoint for the controversial issue, and that can be resolved definitely, no doubt at all, but in a different way. So before making an agreement, negotiation will have to come to an end with a positive note, and both of the parties should agree on the terms and conditions decided in the negotiation table on the table. Then you can do agreement which needs to be made perfectly clear, so that both sides know what has been decided. This is the agreement point. I hope you have understood. Then next point is implementing a course of action. This is the last point of stages of negotiation. Now you are going to implement a course of action. Implementation means what is already decided between both the parties. You have to just implement all these decisions into your actual life, or actual administration, you can say. From the agreement, a course of action has to be implemented to carry through the decision. So agreement is a different thing, and implementation of the same agreement is a different thing. Agreement, you just sign the terms and conditions decided by both the parties on the table. But the implementation is, you have to implement the actual terms and conditions mentioned in the agreement in your administration. So this administration will run smoothly as per the decisions and as per the guidelines of both the parties, and then the company will be benefited for that, for both of them. So whatever is decided between two parties, you must be clear here. That should be implemented in a very clearly, in a very proper way in your administration. Strategic thinking and action planning, all these mm, parts of agreement and before agreement. But after agreement, there is only one point, that is implementing a course of action. You have to implement course of action so that mm, company will be benefited in the future. Now there is another important point, and that is failure to agree. Failure to agree. If the process of negotiation breaks down and agreement cannot be reached, try to understand the situation. If the process of negotiation breaks down, means it is not successful, and agreement cannot be reached, then rescheduling a further meeting is called for. If the negotiation failed and it will not reach to the agreement, then you have to reschedule the meeting. The further meeting is called for the same issue. Issue is not changed there. This avoids all parties becoming embroiled in heated discussion or argument, which not only wastes time but can also damage future relationships. Some parties should be there that can uh, that can make a discussion in a very heated manner, harsh manner, and that kinds of arguments will hurt another party, and that definitely will spoil the relationship between the parties. That kind of statements made by any party is only a waste of time. So such parties you should avoid to call on negotiation table, so that at least some positive uh, attitude, having positive attitude parties will come there, and negotiation will be fruitful one. But the parties who are interested only making heated statements and crossing the arguments, definitely it will waste your time as well as no any fruitful gain or benefit will be there in the negotiation. At the subsequent meeting, the stages of negotiation should be repeated. What you will do, you will call another meeting of the people, avoiding that uh, that the parties who already made harsh statements and wasted your time. Any new ideas or interests should be taken into account and the situation looked afresh. When you reschedule the meeting, definitely you have to call the parties. Subsequent meeting, the stages of negotiation should be repeated. Suppose you have some new ideas, you introduce your new ideas in that negotiation so that the atmosphere will be fresh one. At this stage, it may also be helpful to look at our alternative solutions and or bring in another person to meditate. Suppose any another person wants to mediate both the parties, allow him. If you have some alternatives, positive alternatives, you can communicate all these alternatives to uh, other party. Other party will accept or not is another problem. But at least if you have an alternative, you have to put this alternative before them. If it is accepted, that will be beneficial for you. If it is not accepted, you can think another alternative. So this is the way if you fail in negotiation and reach to the agreement, You can call once again the meeting, reschedule all the strategies, rethink some new points, rethink some new alternatives. If you want to call a mediator, you can call. So these are some additional options if you fail in first negotiation and if you fail to reach the agreement. We will see another points in my next video. Till then, thank you.